The word androgynous is defined as someone who is both partly male and partly female in appearance. And while INFJs don't exactly dress and act as their opposite sex, they certainly hold some qualities that make INFJ women seem more masculine-brained, and INFJ men as more feminine-brained. So, what exactly does that mean, and why does it matter? Welcome, or welcome back, psychos! Before we get into it, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the post notification bell so you never miss a video. Okay, let's get right into the video, starting with number 1. They don't follow traditional gender roles. First and foremost, INFJs aren't set on the conventional ideas of who men and women are supposed to be. While men are stereotypically seen as the logical, strategic, and competitive decision makers, and women are seen as the more intuitive, sympathetic, and submissive homemakers, INFJs see all this as one big gray area of qualities they can choose to possess or not. Not only is this way of thinking rooted within their non-conforming and individualistic judgments towards life, but also because INFJs of both genders are in tune with both their divine feminine and divine masculine equally. The personality type itself is built on both genders' stereotypical traits using their emotional mode or logical mode, depending on the situation. They don't see why gender is some major dividing factor in society. In fact, INFJs consciously, as well as subconsciously, rebel against this narrative because they can see the harm such gender roles can have on a society, which brings us to the next point. Number 2, they question the entire principle of femininity and masculinity. It's not rare for an INFJ woman to have a lot of male friends, and the INFJ man to have a lot of female friends. They can see what each gender has to offer, the beauty in both the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and they see the ways in which both genders naturally have a place within society. However, not only do they not follow traditional gender roles, but they also have the innate comprehension that the principles of femininity and masculinity are basically made up. Just like the concept of time, INFJ see these handed-down principles as being arbitrary to some degree, as if they were introduced with some sort of ulterior motive or passed down from traditions that are no longer applicable to today's world. INFJs rarely conform, adhere to, or honor societal systems that encourage or hint at divisiveness. Sure, the world has come a long way since hunter-gatherers and housewives, and INFJs know it's no longer logical to stand by those beliefs and limitations as a society. And while they can appreciate both gender roles and the examples of people who fill those roles, sometimes thinking too far into the concept of this societal construct becomes useless. Number 3, they see the value in both. Known as both a thinker and a feeler type, all INFJs, no matter the gender, are known for using both thought processes interchangeably, depending on the situation. Thinker types are considered stereotypically more masculine for their logical and analytical approach, while feeler types resort to feelings and emotions, which is considered to be more of a feminine approach. So, since INFJs have the unique combination of both within their function stack, they inherently see the value of both aspects within themselves. Depending upon the environment and the audience they may be performing in front of, an INFJ may also deliberately use their chameleon-like charm and change their outward demeanor to match. And that means sometimes they may even deliberately choose to shift from masculine or feminine because it makes them feel comfortable, whether it's noticeable for others or not. However, it's not only for the INFJ's comfort. In fact, most times this empathetic personality type uses this approach as a tactic to make other people feel safe around them. Number 4, INFJ women don't follow feminine stereotypes. Tomboys at heart, most INFJ women have felt the feeling of not fitting into the group of girls at school or work. Not only are INFJ women sometimes more comfortable with less feminine energies, but they usually can't relate to some of the more feminine expectations of them. Independent, stubborn, and self-reliant, INFJ women don't want to have to depend on a partner, or really, anyone else for that matter. In fact, it's as if the INFJ woman uses their stereotypical masculinity as a guard, protecting their deeper inner empathy that can easily be used against them. They don't show their true feminine essence without first being weary and testing the waters with their more logical and analytical selves. But besides that, most INFJ women prefer a more down-to-earth appearance and approach to life, with little interest in things like following the latest fashion trends and pampering themselves with spa trips. They don't necessarily strive for a life of glamour and luxury as they do stability and adventure. Number 5. INFJ men don't follow manly stereotypes. Empathy and a deep appreciation for beauty are unfortunately seen as predominantly female traits, and the INFJ man is exuding them. With the ability to see and appreciate the beauty in life, INFJ men don't mind showing their enjoyment in the smaller things. They don't mind taking an extra minute to watch the sunset, sit by themselves as they watch the tide go in and out, or planting a flower garden for their yard. With that being said, they may not be as willing or interested to participate in some of the male stereotypes, like being less open about displaying emotion and affection, being the main provider for the family, avoiding house chores at all costs, being promiscuous and striving for power, strength, and competitiveness. In fact, INFJ men try hard to avoid these so-called macho traits. One INFJ Redditor man put it simply by saying, "As a sensitive guy and the confidant of so many female friends, I never wanted to be the piggish straight boy stereotype that breaks hearts and can't cook and all that goes with that." Number 6. They're not particular about labels. The term androgynous refers to the outward gender appearance of an individual not being feminine or masculine, but most INFJ wouldn't exactly label themselves as such. When you take a look at the more philosophical route, which is where the INFJ brain naturally goes when questioning these aspects of life, this personality type sees themselves as nothing more than a soul having a human experience. Gender and everything that comes with playing a specific gender role may be a part of that human experience, but it's not who they are at a soul level. When they stop and look at the grand scheme of things, the way humans take female and male stereotypes to heart is almost humorous in a way. One INFJ Redditor said, "I try not to get caught up in the organic filing cabinet that is the human psyche, and I just focus on myself as a being rather than a collection of traits. Sure, you can categorize me as a certain race, gender, having a specific sexuality, but it gets exhausting. I just like to exist without someone else assuming something about me due to a preconceived label." Number 7. They don't put limitations on their capabilities. One of the key ulterior motives of gender roles within a society seems to come into play when talking about what people feel is appropriate to do or not, depending on their sex. These unspoken limitations placed on both sides of the gender scale not only create division, but it also creates an essence of guilt or shame when stepping outside of these expectations. INFJs refuse to conform to that idea. INFJs believe that they can truly do whatever their vivid imaginations and little hearts desire. INFJ men cry when they need to cry, nurture when they need to nurture, and remain their submissive selves no matter how much they're told to toughen up. INFJ women use independence to their advantage and avoid following womanly expectations no matter how much they're advised to not follow their intuition. And because of this refusal to abide by limitations, INFJs live life free of gender restrictions and constraints. Well, psychos, that's it for today's video. So, would you agree with the fact that INFJs are androgynous by nature? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.